evening. My name is Abdirazak Ali Gesi and this is Dalsan TV English News. We have a lot lined up for you, but first let's have a look at some of the stories that are making headlines here in Somalia. Somalia welcomes International Criminal Court ICJ interim ruling on Gaza against Israel. Somali Military Court Deputy Prosecutor visits Somali National Army troops in El Dere town. President Mohamud pledges to complete constitution amid political talks. Ethiopian troops withdraw from Madama camp in Kismayo. Kenya's Defense Secretary Duale endorses President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's government. UN Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General meets Switzerland's ambassador to Somalia. Somalia federal government has extended support for the recent decision by the International Court of Justice ICJ to assert primary jurisdiction in investigating Israel commission of genocide in the Gaza Strip. Our reporter has more on this.
Somali federal government has extended support for the recent decision by the National Court of Justice ICJ to assert primary jurisdiction in investigation Israel's commission of genocide in the Gaza Strip. In the statement, the Minister of Foreign Affairs said that the ruling marks a significant step towards accountability for the hostilities and atrocities committed by Israel against the Palestinian people. The statement added that Somalia stands firm in demanding for the implementation of immediate temporary to safeguard the rights and the well-being of Palestinian people. The federal government of Somalia also called for immediate ceasefire in Gaza to prevent further loss of civilian lives. South Africa had petitioned the top UN court to order Israel to stop its military operations and call for ceasefire. The ruling by court, however, handed blow to Israel, which had anticipated for the case to be dismissed. More than 26,000 people have been killed and others were wounded in Israel's attack on Gaza since October 7 last year.
The Ethiopian troops who were part of the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, have been withdrawn. Our reporter has more on this. Ethiopian troops stationed in the Madama camp in northern Kismayo have reportedly withdrawn. The troops were part of the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS peacekeeping mission. The withdrawal took place as part of the ongoing strategy to gradually transfer security responsibilities to Somali forces, with the aim of a complete handover by the end of the year. According to sources, the handover of the Madama camp to Somali security forces was successfully managed by General Yusuf Hussein Osman Dumal of Jubaland and General Ali Mohammed Mahmoud Bagdamo of the Somali National Army. The process was facilitated by the ATMIS General Lucas Kuto, ensuring a smooth transition of authority. In addition to the peacekeeping mission, thousands of Ethiopian troops have been deployed in Somalia under a bilateral arrangement between the governments of Ethiopia and Somalia. However, it remains unclear if the withdrawal of the troops from Madama camp is related to recent developments in the bilateral relationship. The relationship between Ethiopia and Somalia has faced challenges in recent times, particularly after Ethiopia signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with Somaliland. The MOU involved gaining sea access in exchange for a stake in Ethiopian Airlines, among other arrangements. This move strained diplomatic ties between the two countries and contributed to the deterioration of their relationship. The withdrawal of Ethiopian troops from Kismayo comes at a time of growing tension between Ethiopia and Somalia. However, it is important to note that this withdrawal is part of broader ATMIS strategy to gradually transfer security responsibilities to the Somali forces. The ultimate goal is to achieve a complete handover by the end of the year, allowing the Somali government to assume full control over security operations within its territory. Now, the President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has voiced his backing for the Parliament's recent passage of a resolution outlining procedural rules for amending the country's constitution. The head of the state, speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the Puntland state leader in Garowe, emphasized the importance of finalizing the long-awaited constitutional document.
President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has voiced his backing for the Parliament's recent passage of a resolution outlining procedural rules for amending the country's constitution. The president, speaking at the inauguration ceremony of the Puntland state leader in Garowe on Thursday, emphasized the importance of finalizing the long-awaited constitutional document. President Mahmoud underscored that any modifications made to the constitution would only come into effect after the election of the next government, highlighting the need for an official and comprehensive constitution for the country. He expressed his government's readiness to engage in discussions with all concerned parties to address the issues affecting the nation's destiny, thereby ensuring a transparent and inclusive process. This acknowledgement of the existing challenges demonstrates the president's commitment to resolving political differences through dialogue and consensus building. The president's remarks followed a joint session of the two houses of the federal parliament, which approved the process of amending the constitution on Wednesday in Mogadishu. Although Somalia adopted the Somali Provisional Constitution in 2012, numerous obstacles have hindered the anticipated comprehensive constitutional review, resulting in delays over the past 4 years. Former Lower House Speaker Mohammed Usman Jawari praised the current administration for reaching preliminary agreements on critical issues. However, he cautioned that unresolved matters persist, emphasizing the necessity of widespread agreement for any constitutional amendments. This indicates that while progress has been made, there are still significant hurdles to overcome before achieving a consensus on the proposed changes. The constitutional amendment process will persist until a referendum is held, ensuring that the Somali people have the opportunity to voice their opinions and contribute to shaping the nation's future.
Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Defense, Honorable Aden Barre Duale, threw his full support behind President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud's government during the inauguration ceremony of Saeed Abdullahi Deni in Garowe. Mr. Duale emphasized the importance of Somalia's security, regional stability, and the ongoing effort to counter terrorism, particularly against the militant group Al-Shabaab. Take a look at his speech.
And the people of Puntland, we cherish, we are proud of the democratic process in Puntland and in Greater Somalia. And on behalf of the President of the Republic of Kenya, on behalf of the people of Kenya, we always support, commit to any process, democratic process, free, fair elections, upholding human rights and the rule of law within our region, the Horn of Africa and East Africa. And Puntland has shown the way and has shown the will, and I'm sure the next time we will be here, the people of Puntland will elect their president in a free, fair, one-man, one-woman vote. Secondly, I really want to tell the people of Somalia and the leadership here, the government of Kenya supports President Hassan Sheikh. We are fully behind the government of President Hassan Sheikh, and we have specific reasons. President Hassan Sheikh, for the first time, has shown both in action and in deed that he's committed to the security of Somalia and security of the region, and in our war against terrorism and also Al-Shabaab. The Kenya government, within the framework of IGAD, within the framework of EAC, which Somalia is a member, working with our partners, the EU, the US, and many, many other countries, have committed resources, time, and energy in making sure Somalia, which is part and parcel of the Horn of Africa, that the security, the stability, and the peace of this region is achieved. President Hassan, you have heard our voice in EAC, you have heard the voice of President Ruto in IGAD, and please, the people of Somalia, the leadership of Somalia under President Hassan, and the federal member states count on our support, whether it is in IGAD, in EAC, at the UN, in any fora. A peaceful, stable, secure Somalia is a peaceful, secure Horn of Africa, East Africa community, Africa and the world. So I really want to really implore that all of us together, the achievement of President Hassan Sheikh and all the prime ministers sitting here will agree with me that Somalia has moved from point A to point B to point C all these years since the collapse of the state building. And secondly, I want to urge the international community present here that military solution cannot solve the security and the many challenges Somalia is facing. We must invest and commit to state building. We must invest in democracy, in elections, in the rule of law, in accountability and transparency, in making sure women, the youth, the religious leaders, the elders have a place in the decision making.
The United Nations Special Representative of the Secretary General, Katiana Liang, on Wednesday met with Switzerland's Ambassador Valentin Zellweger. The meeting in the nation's capital, Mogadishu, focused on various important items, including the security transition in Somalia.
The United Nations Special Representative of the Secretary General, Katiana Liang, on Wednesday met with Switzerland's Ambassador Valentin Zellweger. The meeting in the nation's capital, Mogadishu, focused on various important items, including the security transition in Somalia. The two officials also widely deliberated the bolstering of the peace and state-building processes. The UN Special Envoy underscored the UN's unwavering commitment to bolstering the ongoing war against Al-Shabaab and to ensure that Somalia achieves stability and peace. Ms. Liang pointed out the significance of closer cooperation among the international community in a bid to help Somalia recover from the myriad of challenges affecting its national growth, security reforms, and economic development. On his part, Ambassador Zellweger reiterated the continuous support to Somalia by Switzerland's government in a bid to help the Somali government realize its projected national growth, security, development. He applauded the efforts by the UN fraternity to contributing to the ongoing state building and national growth of the Horn of Africa nation, which is reeling from decades of civil war and turmoil.
The Deputy Chairman of the Somali Military Court, Mohammed Hussein Omar Sanei, has on Saturday visited the Somali National Army and the local forces stationed at the El Dehre town in Galgaduud region, Galmudug state.
The Deputy Chairman of the Somali Military Court, Mohammed Hussein Omar Sanei, has on Sunday visited the Somali National Army and the local forces stationed at El Dehre town in Galgaduud region, Galmudug state. During his visit, Omar commended the officers on the front line for their bravery and courage to eradicate Al-Shabaab from the country. He encouraged the officers to carry out their national duties and responsibilities with diligence and dedication, and exhibit high moral standards and discipline among themselves. The Deputy Military Court Chief cautioned the officers against the unnecessary discharge of firearms, urging the officers to instead use them to fight the Al-Shabaab militant group that has been causing instability and instilling fear among the Somali people. The commander further called on the officers to bolster the ongoing war against Al-Shabaab, which has gained momentum across the country. He underscored that time has come for Somalia to get rid of the Islamist insurgents who have been wreaking havoc in the Horn of Africa nation for decades. Somali National Army commanders have in recent days stepped up morale-boosting visits to the officers on the front line across the country in a bid to exhort and encourage the officers to continue fighting with Al-Shabaab. The Somali National Army, backed by local forces on January 17th this year, captured El Dehre town after Al-Shabaab withdrew from it. The town has been under the control of the extremist group for dozens of years. Al-Shabaab is facing huge pressure from the Somali National Army and local fighters, amid heightened offensives against the group across the Horn of Africa nation.
ku-xigeenka xeerliyaha maxkamadda ciidamada qalabka sida dhamme Mohammed Hussein Omar Sanei oo maalmahan ku sugan degmada Ceeldheer ee gobolka Galgaduud ayaa kormeer iyo sidoo kale wacyigelin ugu tagay ciidamada xoogga dalka iyo kuwa dib u xoreynta deegaanka ee ku sugan degmadan Ceeldheer. ugu horeyn waxa uu xeraalyuhu booqday xarumaha ay degan yihiin ciidamada kumaandooska danab gorgor iyo ciidamada ka socda madaxtooyada halkaana waxa uu kula hadlay boqolaal askari oo qayb ka ah halganka lagu xuraynayo dalka.
waajibkaaga u gudato.
Now that story brings us to the end of this bulletin. My name is Abdulrazak Ali Gese. We wish you a lovely evening.